The departure of an animal from the shelter to its owners was always a joyous event. In the situation with the dog named Mila, everything turned out a little differently. Mila had come to the shelter with her mom as a tiny, trembling puppy. They had lived in an apartment before, and the transition to the shelter's kennels had been difficult for them. Mila's mom, a gentle and wise dog, found a forever home after a few months. However, it wasn't long before Mila met a seemingly suitable candidate for a master at a charity event. The man who adopted Mila appeared kind-hearted and caring. He promised to provide her with a loving home and all the attention she needed. With a heavy heart, the shelter workers bid farewell to Mila, believing she was off to a new, happy life. Less than 20 days later, the shelter staff received a phone call. It was the man who had adopted Mila. He confessed that he had made a terrible mistake. He realized that he couldn't handle the responsibility of caring for a dog. He was too ashamed to take Mila back to the shelter himself, so he thought of nothing better than to give her to another shelter. The volunteers were shocked by his actions, but they thanked their colleagues at the other shelter for agreeing to temporarily take in their former ward, despite the overcrowded enclosures. A day later, Mila was back at her original shelter, her bright eyes filled with curiosity. She did not seem upset or depressed, which meant that she had not had time to become attached to the man who had abandoned her. Her resilience impressed the shelter workers. They knew they had to find her a loving home, one where she would be cherished and never abandoned again. Mila's bright appearance, small size, and young age made her an ideal candidate for adoption. The shelter workers were determined to find the perfect match for her this time, and it didn't take long. A family with a young child visited the shelter, hoping to find a furry companion to join their household. Mila's eyes lit up as she met the child, wagging her tail in delight. For some reason, this dog just loved children, and her connection with the little boy was instant. The family fell in love with Mila's playful and loving nature. They knew she was the one they had been searching for. They filled out the adoption papers with smiles on their faces, and Mila left the shelter for the third time, but this time it was for good.